Hello. So I have been doing tapestry knits for a little over a year now. I'm making some really cool projects, but I'm thinking I need something that is other than a wall hanging to practice my knits on. I don't think I'm ready to venture out into the world of wearables for my colorwork projects. That seems like it's a really big project and undertaking. Instead, I think I'm going to go ahead and start making tote bags with my knits. That seems like a doable first step into like more practical things besides wall hangings. With that, I really want to do something for Halloween. It is currently the middle of September, so I have just enough time to start knitting and getting things done so I can actually use whatever I make in October. I've gone through a couple ideas already. I started knitting a Frankenstein grid that looked like this. Far too complex for me right now. 11 colors was a bit much, and so I'm gonna scale that back a little bit. And I've been thinking of maybe doing a Ghostbusters themed tote bag. I just think that would be really fun. I found a couple different grids on Pinterest that I'm gonna end up using. I'll link them down below, but these are what I'm thinking of for right now. And I'm really interested in doing two. So one side will be the Ghostbusters logo, and then the other side will be like another picture of a ghost. I might do some writing. I love the idea of having it say like, who you gonna call, like the catchphrase. I have a couple different ideas that I'm like thinking through, but I'm excited to get started on this and see if I can make something that I can use in my everyday life and take with me outside my home. First things first, I have to gather my materials and then kind of get started. I would love it if I can do this out of materials that I already have. That being said, right off the bat, I don't think I have a red that's bright enough for the Ghostbusters logo, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and use leftover kind of maroony red that I have. I'm hoping that with the black and white it will really pop and that it'll read more red than maroon in the actual project. That being said, I have every other color that I need for this, so I shouldn't have to go shopping at all. That's the hope. I love using materials that I already have, and I really want to try to be sustainable with this project, especially considering this is a project that I probably won't use many months of the year. But enough said, I'm gonna go ahead and get started, and I need to start knitting. I'm running out of time, and this is something I gotta jump on. It's a few days later, and I've been working on this basically any chance that I can. It's all squished onto one needle, so it's a little bit warped in terms of the actual design, but I'm really excited for how it's turning out. I'm making really good progress. I think that I should be able to get this side done in at least the next week, and then hopefully the other side will go faster because there won't be as many color changes. I'm hoping to get this done as fast as I possibly can. Definitely looking forward to being able to use this tote bag. Hopefully I can get it done in time that I can use it the majority of October. That's the goal. But for right now, you can see the little hands coming through, and that makes me really happy. So I'm definitely over halfway done with the actual design, hoping I can get it done soon. I'm not used to working with 3 different skeins, and so every time that I do a row, it basically ends up with me having to spend a couple minutes untangling all of my yarn at once. I saw someone say that they put their yarn in mason jars, and so then they just move the mason jars around in order to untangle things, but I haven't gotten that far. Maybe I'll be smarter on the next side to actually use a tip like that. But for right now, I just have my balls of yarn just kind of, this one's really, it needs to be rewound. It's falling apart. It's reaching the end. I have more of this color, so this is not yet yarn chicken. So I have more of that. But no, untangling everything is by far the hardest part of working on a project like this. I'm used to only having to untangle 2 different skeins. 3 is just a game changer. My floats also look really interesting because I have more colors. It's really thick, which I'm okay with. I think that'll actually make it a sturdier tote bag, but it's thicker because I'm carrying 2 colors over when I float yarn. I'm not just carrying one, so that's an interesting difference from what I'm used to. But overall, I think it's turning out really well. My tension's been pretty good throughout this entire thing. You can see a few points where there's puckers, but hopefully that'll block out in the end. But I think it looks great. So I'm excited to see like the ghost head come into effect as I keep knitting and kind of checking off some of those benchmarks as I go along. Okay, day 3, this is what I'm starting with. Okay, I have finished the color work for the front. I have about 10 more rows of just black to do before I'll be all done and I can cast off. I'm hoping to just knock those out and then cast off and then head to bed. It's been a while I've been knitting for a few hours now, but I think it turned out so nicely. It is a little wider than I thought it was going to be, but all in all, I'm very pleased with how this turned out, and my floats look very nice and anchored on the back. I've gotten a lot better at carrying my floats as I've learned to knit. I'm gonna finish this tonight. My plan for tomorrow is to finish the grid for the other side and then cast on at least, hopefully do a couple rows of just the black. I don't know how long it'll take me to like actually work out the grid. Hopefully that's something that I can just do really quickly. I already know kind of the spacing for the letters, but I need to figure out how to get it to fit in the middle of the square, because I don't want it to be like too far at the top. I don't want it to be too far at the bottom. So that's gonna take some figuring out to kind of figure out how to get that bit in the middle there. But other than that, I'm really excited for how it's turned out. It's going by a lot more quickly than I thought it was going to, which is good, because the sooner I make it, the sooner I can start using it, especially as it's really nearing October 1st. But yeah, so I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna head to bed, but I'll work on it more later this week. It is officially October 1st. I'm hoping to get this tote bag done in time so I can start using it next week, but I finished the front of the tote bag. So this part is done. I've started working on the other side. Let me tell you, the worst part about knitting for me is when you just have to do stockinette for a long time. I am only this far on the other side and I'm bored because I have to do 20 rows of stockinette stitches before I can even start the color work for the who you're gonna call. And I'm so bored. And I've just been like watching different YouTube videos right now doing this, and I keep putting it down to watch the video and I'm like, oh, I have to knit more. Once I start actually doing the words, it'll be a lot more interesting, and I think it'll go a lot faster. But for right now, I'm just over it. I just want to start doing something fun. One thing that I'm remembering is that it's really hard to count your rows in black. I have to do 22 rows before I can start the lettering, and it's so hard to count the stitches. I feel like I need like a headlamp in order to watch. I have a headlamp around here somewhere. I have many of them, but I don't want to find them just to count stitches. It is 10:30 now, and I just finished the last row I need for who you gonna call. I'm going to cast off, and then I'm going to try and block these tonight while I still have some energy left, so they can all be set for the future and they can dry overnight. That just gives me some extra wiggle room this weekend for when I actually put the tote bag together. So super excited for how it turned out. Just need to cast off and then I can get started on the next steps. Them all pinned am laid down now. The airflow in my apartment isn't great, so I have a fan going on them, and that'll continue to blow on these two pieces all night just to help them kind of dry a little bit faster. In the past, when I've done projects like this one, it took solidly like 2 days for it to dry. So it's currently Friday night. My goal is for them to be dry by tomorrow night, Saturday night. That way I can start putting in the lining and hopefully having it be done by Sunday. That's the goal, if not by Monday, so I can start using this tote bag while it's still October. It is the very beginning, first week of October, so I feel pretty okay about it, but I want to have it done in time for me to actually use. So for now, I'm gonna go to bed because it is far too late. It is far past my bedtime. I am tired. It is a Friday night. I've had a long week. So I'm gonna let these dry, and then tomorrow I'm gonna come and see how they're doing. But for that one, I'm gonna work on that later. That's not part of this video, but that's just gonna hang out down there. It's been long blocked for like many weeks at this point. It's the next morning. I've gone through and lifted up some of these pieces just to get some airflow underneath the knitting. The ends are all dry. I feel really good about that, but in the middle it's still a little damp, so I've moved the fan a little closer, and I'm trying, especially the thickest part is this logo because there's 2 different colors being dragged underneath like the top layer, so there's like solidly 3 layers of yarn down there. So that's gonna take the longest to dry for now, for sure. This one's drying a little faster just because there's only 2 colors, so there aren't as many floats versus this one has the 3. So that one's gonna take a little bit longer to actually dry, kind of working on that. So I'm going to go ahead and let these dry for the rest of the day, and then maybe tonight, tomorrow morning, I'll actually sew it all up. And it should be a really fast process. Okay, it's a couple hours later. These are finally dry now, so I'm gonna go ahead and unpin them and start getting the lining together, start sewing them together. I'm not sure how exactly I'm gonna tackle this, but I feel like it'll go smoothly. I went through my fabric stash and I found the perfect lining for this bag, and it's just all ghosts. I have a yard of it. I've never known what I was gonna do with this fabric. I got it in like a bundle at an estate sale one time. Like, there's even someone's kind of like messed up like hemming on it. Like their machine, the tension was really weird, so they just kind of like threw away the project. So this is gonna be the lining that goes on the inside of the bag. I think it's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead now and take some measurements and start getting this all sorted, cutting out. It should be really easy, just 2 rectangles, and I'll walk you through how I'm gonna connect the lining to the knit pieces. I've also been thinking really hard about how I wanna do the handles for this project, just because knit things tend to stretch, and I'm really worried that if I had knit handles then they would stretch a lot. I do know that there's a crochet stitch that's really popular that you can use for handles and tote bags that doesn't stretch as much. I don't really have time to figure that out, so that also sounds like a lot of work. So instead what I'm going to use is this woven canvas like braiding cord type thing, and I've used this with my other tote bags, and it's really secure and durable, and it holds a lot of strength. So I just feel like this tote bag would be a lot better quality if I used something like this for the handles rather than trying to knit something. So I'm going to go ahead and use this cording and attach it to the lining and have that be the main structure of the bag, and have the knit kind of just be wrapped around it. That way when I go ahead and put things in it, the main integrity of the bag will be the lining, and it should hold shape versus the knit, which would stretch and warp and probably wouldn't look as good if it was just that. So the lining and the handles here are really going to be the main part of the tote bag, like actual function later on. The knit part is just for pretty. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this as well. This is why you have to be careful when sewing, because I just went over a thick part where the knitting doubles up under here, so it's pretty thick, and I was going pretty fast, and not only did my needle bend, it also snapped off. Luckily it stayed here on the thread, or else it definitely would have just flung off somewhere. And it's a good thing I wear glasses too. This could have gone in my eye. But I'm gonna go ahead and change the needle. I only had this much more to understitch, so just gonna have to finish that really carefully, and then I can go ahead and sew the bottoms two together for the lining, and then the bag will be all done. So glad this was much less of a disaster than it could have been. That could have been really bad. Okay, so the very last thing I have to do is sew up the bottom for the lining. So currently I have it inside out. All the handles are on the outside. This is fully flipped. This knit side is all sewn shut at the bottom, and this side is still open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew about a quarter of the way in on each side, leaving an opening. When I flip it back inside out, I'll flip it through this opening and then go in and hand stitch this closed. That way everything is tucked in on the inside and you won't be able to see these floats. Nothing should get snagged. These supports that I have sewn to the lining will also be on the inside, so you won't be able to see those. You'll just be able to see the stitch lines, and it'll all be nice and enclosed and very professional. I won't have to worry about any of these seams, anything like that. So that's the last thing I have to do, and then I just need to kind of give it a steam and it'll be done. Very excited about this. Overall, I think this was a success. I absolutely love this bag. I don't know how to make it so that the sides don't go whoop, because it's kind of happening on both sides. I don't know how to get rid of the bulk here. So that's something to work on next time. When it's full, it doesn't really do that. That, I would say, was the only part that I'm not a fan of, is the whoop. All in all, I love it. I got so many compliments on it when I was at the pumpkin patch earlier. It holds a decent amount. Like, I currently have an entire gallon-sized bag of popcorn in here, and it fits that and all of my other stuff very well. It's not a tote bag that's too big or too small. Definitely works well with a lot of my fall outfits. Definitely will continue to use this throughout the rest of October. I'm so happy I went with the ghost lining. I just feel like it was super on topic and I had to do it. So overall, I would say this project was a success. If you have any ideas for how to keep this shape better and not make the sides go like this, please comment so I know what to do in the future, because I want to keep making tote bags with my knits, but I don't want them to be so misshapen like this. I think for just a tote bag that I would only use 1 month out of the year, then this is totally fine. And when I say 1 month out of the year, realistically, I probably will use it again. But in terms of like taking it out and about, it very much is like a Halloween accessory for me. I'm gonna go ahead and keep using this throughout the rest of the month. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please let me know what you want to see next. I've really been enjoying making longer videos, and I need ideas. What do you want me to talk about? What do you want longer ideas about? What do you want longer videos for? Please comment, go ahead and like and share this. So thank you. I post videos almost every other Tuesday, so thank you. It is January 28th today, so really hoping that I could get this done. Did I say January? The flan.